Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the You Got the Ron Dude podcast. I'm your host, Ron Jammin. Thank you very much for tuning in. Podcast is available on SoundCloud, where you can download the episode for free, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So check all those out. Remember to like, subscribe, share, follow, rate, review, all that fun stuff. I do appreciate it. This episode is going to be all about the hopefully map editor whenever we get Far Cry 7. I figure they've been saving up, all the games since 5. Because in 5, the map editor, the map objects, you have different games. So I'm sure they're acquiring licenses for other ones and then banking all the objects from, 6, Primal, whatever else is out there. But a while back, I released kind of a podcast, Leo 100, superb map maker, invited me to do a video collab on his channel, and we talked about our hopes and theories in that for the 7 map editor. And the only problem I had with that is that the audio files that I sent him were cut down significantly. So it just seemed like I was making random short points about stuff when really it was more in depth. So those I just strung together and released them. And but ever since then, last several months, I've had a lot of ideas in that. So I want to share those with you, whether it's Far Cry 7 or whatever the next game is. But it doesn't seem too hopeful from what I've read. But anyways, let's get right into it. Alright, well, my notes are all over the place, so let's start with control zones. I'd like for them to have ID numbers, so let's say you have multiple set up and kind of a tracking system. So it just has a number, because there's one attached to the player, and they have that little black line, lets you know which one. But something a little easier, and I'm talking about console, by the way. PC I haven't played it on, but yeah, so a control zone kind of ID tag, so when you press on it itself, it brings up the info. Let's see next, with a script with spawning an object or object destroyed. Obviously can't work on all items for whatever reason, but more objects than that. So let's say you go over and there's a bowl on the table, and you can make that unspawn or spawn, something like that. Not crucial to it, but just an idea that I have. So more options. I don't know if that would affect anything really. I mean, like I said, not all objects, but just certain things. Because on console, we can't have players pick up items. You interact with some things and it doesn't work really unless it's a door. But something like that. Next up, AI not hitting map limits. Now, if you put up invisible walls or whatever, or have it more boxed in, as far as the area, I get that when they're actually hitting walls and stuff. But otherwise, having them crash, because people playing like they crashed into the sky. What the heck? And AI, so you figure, by now it's more advanced than that. So I'd like to see that in the next Far Cry. This one I discovered recently because I've been building a stadium map, and when you spawn the blue ball and you go to kick it and it just explodes, or you hit it with something. So I did some testing and I found out if you have it spawn in the air and it drops to the ground, it's kickable, which is cool because I have that set as a distraction in the map. You're fighting multiple waves of enemies, and then these balls start falling from the sky, and I got guys parachuting in, but make stuff like that, kickable, maybe not throwable, but I don't know. It'd be nice to have options. Oh, and for a console edition, easier to select, texture, color for objects. So let's say you go to generic shape and you pick out a platform or something. I know on PC it's easier because you have the drop-down menu and you can select things faster, but maybe a little easier on console where we have a search bar and you can just type in, WOO, and it brings up all the wood selections. But let me know what you think. Well, a while back I was showing my dad the game because I was hoping he'd be blown away by it. And so we're playing on the same console, and I thought I could invite him to play a co-op match, but he wasn't able to join for whatever reason. I don't know if other players have had that issue, but this is on console, again, Xbox. But I figured we'd be all set. We both have our own accounts, and I sent him an invite and it just didn't work. And let's see, weather. I like some effects because some players, they figured out how to do a lightning effect and then snow. So you get pretty creative, but obviously you don't want it to affect it, if it lags or something, the map. That I get, but I like the way we have a storm. You can hear rain, but I'd love to see some snow, something like that, and hopefully it doesn't take up any memory. Well, in bounty hunt mode, when you're designing a map level, how about if we could place targets in waves 2 through 5? Now, it all depends how you build it, because you can have, other random henchmen in that. But let's say they get the targets, and, all the other waves didn't spawn because, game over. So I'd like to be able to place them in later waves. Not that it's necessary, but just an idea I had. And the ability to lie prone, I would like to see that. Especially in a game where, you're shooting in that and moving around a lot. Now, I've rarely had this issue, but sometimes when you launch a map you've been working on, specifically with floors, platforms, for some reason they automatically raise, lower, or shift over, and I can't figure out why. Or even if you make a duplicate of them, a copy, and the original just goes up a bit. That's something like, really? Why does it do that? You're not moving the object up, you just want a duplicate. And I'm working on a new Vegas map, and the floor pieces are huge, the 3200. And moving those around, it's kind of difficult. That's another thing, being able to zoom in more, have more options as far as angles, and just easier to move objects around in that, specifically that size. But I don't know what causes that, and if it's a glitch, if it happens across all consoles and that at the same time. So build carefully, that's my advice. Because I was like, well, these pieces are divided and it's hard to, line them up in that. So maybe if they have some kind of grid that shows you it's lined up, and but anyways, that's pretty annoying. I'm not sure what causes it, and thankfully it rarely happens. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Let me know what you think, what ideas you have, what you'd like to see. Do you agree that they're just banking, licenses for different games, for objects and that? And of course, the recent Far Cry series, since 5. And I'm sure we'll have, back to, I think it went as far back as 4 with 5. But I'd love to hear from you. Leave some comments. Like, share, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. where you can also download the episode for free. And I gotta say, this is my favorite game right now, Far Cry 5. I'm so glad I found it. I've been looking for years, and I had played Cities Skylines and Planet Coaster, which is an amazing looking game. And I'm like, well, I don't want to code my own maps. I have a whole episode about map making games, because I started almost 20 years ago. But you had to type in the code in that to bring up an object. I look back at that and it's like, oh my gosh. But that's all we had at the time. And the name Far Cry just never screamed out, map editor. And then over the years, just did some digging and was like, oh, that game? Oh, okay, interesting. And I'm so thankful I discovered it, because I have 50 projects, which is the maximum. So I actually started another account on my Xbox so I can continue building. I haven't published any maps, and I'm glad I haven't, because my first one, I thought you had to fill the grid, and I didn't realize how much memory AI took up. So imagine my surprise. So this year I went back to it, and the map actually turns 3 years old next month. So I went back in, got rid of all the stuff I didn't need, because I had like a lot of vehicles and animals all over, and thankfully was able to kind of redo that without having to remove any of the design otherwise, buildings and that, and then learning about scripting and all that, and all the tutorials. So shout out to Fallen Ninja, Map Editor Man. There's some others out there, but those are very helpful. But I love the game, and check out all my videos on YouTube. Recently I just started doing, because I would test stuff, and I'm like, why aren't I recording all this? Filming it. So I have a map dedicated to testing, and it's a lot of fun doing some stunts and enemy AI, swim, testing stuff out with control zones. The first one I did was a tunnel one, angled tunnel that goes up pretty high, and got them to go up there. But a lot of fun stuff, so check those out. And they're all labeled, Far Cry 5, playing your maps, original maps, test site, and I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. So anyways, that's going to do it. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time. You Got the Wrong Dude podcast.